As one of us learns, we all learn. This is Skull Babylon, and you're listening to episode 29 of Paradigm Shift Radio. On this episode, we welcome back Michael Brazell onto the show, the former original co-host of PSR. Michael has plenty of knowledge, wise words, and reminders to share with us. On the show, we started off by talking about chakras and providing a bit of an introduction to the topic and discussed some of the numerous ways of working with them practically in our own lives. After that, we got into the topic of one of his books, Practical Demonology Applications, and what demonology refers to in terms of dealing with the darkness inside of ourselves. As per usual, we had another community member join us on the air to talk more about the dynamics of manifesting reality, followed by a regular synchronized group meditation. The conversation continued beyond the show and into the Google Hangout after party, which is something you too can always get involved with in the future. So be sure to join us on Facebook, let more of your friends know about the show, and keep doing the work you need to do as you continue to move forward on your path. Enjoy the show.
There are a lot of mysteries out there, in this vast yet simple universe of ours. But it's not so much that they are hidden, more so that they are overlooked subtleties. This is your co-host, Skull Babylon, aka Brendon Wolfshield Culleton, and as per usual, tonight on Paradigm Shift Radio, we are going to be exploring and relearning some of these mysteries. So, welcome to 2013, and thank you once again for tuning into Paradigm Shift Radio on behalf of www.paradigmshiftcentral.com. For those of you who may be new to Paradigm Shift Central is a hub for a global network of Paradigm Shift communities which encourage open-mindedness, healthy living, and the evolution of consciousness. Individually, these communities exist as both Facebook pages and physical communities. So check out if there are some in your area by visiting paradigmshiftcentral.com/directory and join a Facebook if there is one in your area, or if you're interested in starting a new one, you can also find some tips and tricks through that website as well, or join us directly on facebook.com/paradigmshiftcentral. Emerging communities are always looking for help, so feel free to drop them a message to connect and see how you can get involved. And just another quick reminder within these first few minutes of the show, please feel free to help promote what we're doing here, which is Paradigm Shift Radio. And each week on Paradigm Shift Radio, we get together as a global community to keep track of where things are and to practice sharing thoughts, ideas, experiences for the purpose of collective inspiration and education. So if you have not yet, please feel free to reshare the Blog Talk link of the show, the one you're listening to right now, and keep in mind that the episode will go up on YouTube in 24 hours, and when that one goes up, it will go up with all the show notes. So once it's up on YouTube, feel free to share it again as well and help get the word out, because potentially the really interesting part with Paradigm Shift Radio is that every new person who hears about Paradigm Shift Radio is potentially a person who's going to be able to create a whole new reality and be inspired in unique and different ways. So we always want to be able to get it out there as much as we can. And just for anybody who's in the chat right now, just give me a little bit of confirmation, because just in terms of technicality-wise, how is my mic sounding? If you just want to give me a little bit of clarity as to how it's coming through for you guys and make sure everything is coming through A-OK, that would be great. All good, sir. Perfect. All right, so tonight on the show, we'll be welcoming back Michael Brazell as our co-host. For those of you who've been listening for a while, you'll know that Michael was actually the guy who helped get Paradigm Shift Radio off the ground. We did several episodes together starting back in June and went up to about episode 11, and at which point Michael switched focus around then, and he started putting a lot more energy into writing books, in particular 2 books, which we will be focusing some of the topic around tonight. His first book is called The Magic of Yoga and Divine Darkness, and his other one is called Practical Demonology Applications. Now, of course, if you like what Michael has to say tonight, you can hear plenty more of him, because he still does several other Blog Talk radio shows during the week. He's been doing these shows long before the genesis of Paradigm Shift Radio. So if you would like more information about Michael Brazell, visit his website at www.michaelbrazell.com and join him on Blog Talk at blogtalkradio.com/Michael Brazell, and feel free to add him at facebook.com/mbrazell, so Brazell. And so again, we will be bringing we will be bringing Michael onto the show very soon, no later than 11:11. So that gives me less than 3-4 minutes to go over a little bit of community news real quick, and then we'll get him onto the show. And as per usual, if anybody else would like to join us onto the show, feel free to call in whenever you'd like, and we'll bring callers on sort of as they start showing up in the queue. And if you have any questions that you might want to ask Michael, even in sense of clarity, if you have something that he said and you just want some clarity, feel free to message me through the not through Facebook. It's easier if you message me through the live chat within Blog Talk. Then I'll see it immediately, and we'll try to address some of the questions as they come up in the live chat as well. So in the meantime, guys, feel free to acquaint yourself with anybody in the live chat. Just a reminder, this live chat opportunity is a chance for you guys to connect with other like-minded individuals who are learning more, who want to see a change in the world. So at any point during the show, feel free to post your own Facebook page into the live chat so that people will know. They'll be like, okay, this person wants people to add him, and then just start doing that. So if you post your Facebook into the live chat, expect that people within the live chat will add you. So there's about 52 users in the live chat right now, so that's a pretty solid number. So I mean, there's a lot that we can get done within the next couple hours. And again, just or maybe I didn't mention it, but just a reminder, there will be the Google Hangout after party of this episode, which happens after the show goes off the air on Blog Talk, which will be at 1 a.m. And then at that point, follow the links, which will be posted through the live chat, and they'll also be posted through facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio, and get involved with the Google Hangout. So if you weren't able to make it onto the show, or even if you were, the Hangout is a chance for everybody to sort of get in on it, and there is a cap. There's about like 20 people that we can have on all at once. And anybody who isn't able to get on, you can still watch it through YouTube pretty easily. And again, the links will go up through facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio. So pretty straightforward. So just a little bit of paradigm shifting news for anybody who might be in the London, Ontario area. As some of you already know, I myself am associated with Paradigm Shift London, Ontario. For anybody who might be in that area or just in the surrounding area, there's going to be an expo in our community on January 26th, and you'll hear me talking about it more as it gets closer. It's the Inspirational Expo 2013, and we've been involved with it for a few years, so there's going to be a lot of tables and workshops. Visit www.londonseekers.org for more information about that, and like I said, we'll talk more about it when it gets close. And also, if you have not, or if you would just like to anyways, join the Facebook community at facebook.com/ParadigmShiftLondon. So in terms of Facebook communities, new Facebook communities that are officially on the map and have been added to the directory, you can go to ParadigmShiftCentral.com/directory to see all the ones that are currently known, the majority of them, and just the newest ones that have emerged. So quick shout out to them. Shout out to Paradigm Shift 518, which is an area code, which is an interesting way of labeling it through Facebook, and that's actually in the New York area. So area code 518, which is a part of northern New York, as far as I understand. So anybody who might be in that area, feel free to check them out, and even if you're not in the area, feel free to like their community as well. So shout out to Zoe for getting that started. She's briefly been on the show in the past, so very cool to be able to see a listener go ahead and get started up on their own communities. So, and other community, and the last couple things before we keep going. Shout out to Paradigm Shift Arizona, and again, I'm posting the link for that in the live chat, but if you want to run a search on it, facebook.com/ParadigmShiftArizona. Shout out to them for getting started, and again, if you're in the area, feel free to join and connect up with them. And another one, this one actually isn't entirely new, but I got to mention it anyways. Shout out to pretty much Paradigm Shift Israel. I mean, technically, they don't go by that name, but that's the name that, they go by another name that it's it's in like Hebrew, technically the word that they chose. But check out their Facebook at facebook.com/IamTheLightOf, and you'll be able to, I am the light of this world, and you'll be able to connect with them through there. And the last Paradigm Shift community, and of course the Paradigm Shift Israel is the one where Alon, who's been on the show in the past on episode 25, that's his community group who started up that. So check out some of the stuff they're doing. I know they're doing a lot of stuff similar to the Planacy, going out with the sign holding, and just bringing consciousness into their community. So big shout out to them. And last one on the news today, shout out to Paradigm Shift Germany. This is actually one that I'm pretty excited excited about seeing. I think that's really cool to be able to have a Paradigm Shift Germany, even if it is the entire country. We don't traditionally encourage people to name Paradigm Shift communities after an entire country, but if it's the first one, then sure, go for it. I don't mind. But eventually you want to start centralizing them around individual towns or cities as things continue to develop. But at this point, congratulations to Paradigm Shift Germany. So that's pretty much the gist of it. And so last couple things before I bring Michael on. I know we're just a couple minutes over 11 right now, but hey, we still got plenty of time, so it's not a big deal. If you are already got a Paradigm Shift community in your area, check this out, because I just posted it the other day, and it's something we can definitely make use of. It's more consciousness shifting tools. So go to paradigmshiftcentral.com/plant-a-seed. So PLANTASEED, plant a seed, and there you will find some consciousness shifting tools, such as business cards for paradigmshiftcentral.com, as well as for paradigmshiftradio.com. And even if you don't have a community up, feel free to download the PDF, which you'll find through that link, and print those out and just start putting them in random locations. So, I mean, you can put them on bus stops, like you can put them on like bus seats and benches in schools. You can leave them like in telephone booths, like random places where you just sort of set them down, and then synchronicity sort of has the potential to let things unfold as they will. And maybe like that business card will land up in the hands of the person who's been looking exactly for this type of material and this type of community, because that's actually technically how it works in terms of like this whole universal way that things unfold and stuff. So do that, check that out. And also on ParadigmShiftCentral.com, if you have not yet, there is the Journey to Rockmont documentary there. It's a full-length documentary. Check it out. It went up back on around the 21st, and I just continue to encourage people, even if they have seen it, to continue to share it, because similar to each person finding out about the radio show, every person who potentially sees that film has that act, that mere interaction of experiencing what the film offers, potentially creates a new reality by encouraging that person to follow their own path, to follow their, what drives them, so to speak, and that may bring them back to the whole Paradigm Shift community thing. So share the Journey to Rockmont documentary, or check it out if you have not seen it yet, or watch it again. And if you've already seen it more than once, it's kind of timeless, and that's kind of the point. And it is something that we can watch with your kids too. I mean, Paradigm Shift Radio is a family-friendly environment, so just a reminder to anybody who might be coming on air is there's no reason for this to get like anything above PG-13, because we do want to be able to keep the information and the conversation that's happening here accessible to the whole spectrum. And I know that there are people who actually listen to this show like with their younger siblings. So shout out to anybody listening to the show who might be younger than 15. I think that is like just super cool, and that's what we need more of. So that's the gist of it, guys. And if you have not in the past and you're thinking about it, just a quick reminder, ParadigmShiftCentral.com/donate. Check out the links there and consider donating, because your donations help go towards what it costs to keep the websites up and running at the very least, and additional funds from that go to help promoting Paradigm Shift through Facebook and as well as digital print means. And to help get the word out there, the more people who find out about Paradigm Shift, the more that we all continue to unfold as like the greater collective. But that's something that, I mean, I think a lot of you guys who are already involved with this already know about this, but seriously, like Space Cash through Paradigm Shift can be used very efficiently and effectively. So it costs $40 a month to keep the Paradigm Shift Radio going through Blog Talk, and it costs about $25 a month to keep the website up and running. So that's just sort of the money that we have to deal with. So if you guys can support that, please feel free to do so, and it'll help keep things moving forward. So that's the gist of the news right there. And if you have any questions or would just like to in general, feel free to add me at facebook.com/skullbabylon. If you want help making some business cards for your community area, then feel free to let me know, and that's something that I can do up in Photoshop for you quite effortlessly, because it only takes me a couple minutes of my time, but I know it makes a big difference. So that's the community news in terms of Paradigm Shift Radio and ParadigmShiftCentral.com. And with that said, just a reminder, if anybody would like to call in, you can call in later in the show, or you can call in now pretty much. And to do so, you can call in using the actual Skype, or the actual host number, which is 347-539-5493, or you can call in the easy way, which is through your computer and using Skype. And if you scroll up or refresh the page if need be, you'll see a Skype icon next to the host number. Click that, it will launch your application. Click OK, and press 1 in the number pad, and we'll know that you're looking to come onto the air. So Michael, I think that's pretty much the gist of, as I already said, that seems to be the highlight word of tonight. But we're gonna be ready to bring you on now. So, Michael, if you just want to press 1 on your keypad, I'll know for sure that you're ready to come on to the air, and then we'll go forward with that. So, excuse me while I just take a second to take a little water break right here. Okay, All right, so Michael said he was having some tech issues earlier. That's why I just wanted to double check. But I'll try bringing him on anyways, and if he's for some reason not there, he's not there. But I'm pretty sure he's good to go. And I'll just take this quick second just to make sure that everything's okay. Just a reminder that in the middle-ish of the show, or a little bit past the hour point, once we get out into Sunday, we will be doing a group meditation on the show, and the plan for that is that Michael will actually be helping coordinate that on as well. So Michael is good to go. I can see him talking in the live chat right now. So Michael, we're ready to go. And with that said, I am going to bring you onto the air. And here we go. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Good to hear you, man. Like
good to hear you too. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Like it actually has. And you know, like sort of the way how we roll, we didn't have to like sit down and talk on Skype ahead of time. So this is actually the first time that we've talked to each other since the last time that we were on air together, which was quite some time ago. So, yeah.
It's a couple months now, I think. Several months.
Several months. Cool, man. All right. Well, you know, just maybe for people who might not be entirely familiar with who you are, feel free to just introduce yourself. Because, I mean, the term that is often put next to your name is like psychic medium, and you use a couple other titles, I think.
Yeah, I do quite a bit. I do everything from the psychic work, I do mediumistic stuff, channeling, witchcraft. I have a pretty diverse path that I follow. I don't really like labels, but sometimes we have to dive into those spaces so people can connect to the energy that we're bringing forward. But yeah, so it's kind of been a whirlwind year. So I've been kind of exploring a lot of new and different things. The big thing is yogawitch.com, which I just launched, and it's the intersecting path of my yoga journey and my journey through witchcraft and magic. And it's been a pretty interesting journey so far. But just keeping the community active, doing the blog talk radio show. I host several meetup groups here in the local area focused on psychic development, soul evolution, consciousness expansion, and you name it, we do a little bit of it.
Yeah, and I'll just mention for anybody who's interested, because the Facebook group still does exist. So I know, Michael, if you're looking to get in touch with them directly, just add them through Facebook. But when we sort of started the show, you were sort of more affiliated with like the Paradigm Shift DC, which, like I said, still exists as a Facebook group. So anybody who might be in the DC area, feel free to join that. Run a search on Paradigm Shift DC if you're not in the live chat in Facebook, and you'll be able to find that. But I just posted that in the live chat as well. So, but yeah, no, I think that's like, yeah, you've been keeping pretty busy, man. Like, I mean, I'm sort of following your posts here and there, and even the whole process of writing a like, that must have been quite a commitment. I mean, even just like in the habit of it, I bet, eh?
Yeah, it was pretty intense. There was the National Novel Writing Month, and I had the intention of doing a fiction book, but rather than wasting 50,000 words on fiction, because fiction just terrifies me, because I'm not a fiction writer, even though I guess you could consider metaphysics and spirituality in some way diving into imagination. But I decided to use it to that time, that 30 days, to write and finish a book that I had been thinking about for a while, and that was a book on demonology. And just kind of going into the more practical aspects, because there's a lot of stuff out there on the religious aspects, and there's just so many different things with demonology and different avenues that you can go into. But the idea of divine darkness and how darkness plays a part in our growth, and how there are these agents of change that work with us to help push us through those circumstances, and why we find ourselves in upheaval and the lessons that upheaval brings us. And oftentimes we're afraid to go into those darker parts of ourselves. But the one thing I learned last year was the more light you bring into your life, the bigger your shadow gets. And if you're not willing to acknowledge your shadow, it'll just get bigger and bigger until it overtakes you, and you're forced to sit with it.
Yeah. Like I think what I'd really like to be able to do on the show tonight, and some of it will relate around the topics direct theme. Is that you have a very
your mic just died, I think.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Barely. You're coming in and out.
Really? Okay, all right. Well, we'll have to deal with it.
It's Blog Talk. Some things never change. See, people.
God, nutty. Shook my fist there if you couldn't hear it over the internet. But what I was going to say though is that what I like about your book, and I actually look forward to being able to like read your books for yourself. But I like the fact that you approach things with a practicalness. It's not just like it's one thing to be able to read about stuff, but to be able to like incorporate it into your life, I think is a pretty important aspect. So I really respect that. That's something that you focus on through a lot of your work.
Well, I'm big on experiential spirituality, and it should be something that we can apply to our current existence and our current path. And if it's something that creates another level of illusion or takes us away from actually living our experience, it can cause more harm than good. So if we're going to talk about those bigger concepts, bringing them down into the body and making them embodied experiences so that we can actually use them to move forward, to move through whatever life is bringing us, makes them more practical. It makes it something that we can actually apply versus just sitting in the space of concept and theory.
Mm-hmm. Last night, and I would actually like to get into a conversation about this at some point in the show in just a little bit more depth. But last night, in theme with this, at our local Paradigm Shift London meeting, we had a good long talk about the chakras. And I think in terms of spirituality, a lot of people who may be into this stuff, they know about chakras. It's often something that it's kind of like an introductory topic, but I think there's like so much if you were to just study, you could study the chakras like your entire life. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, they're just like, oh, okay, like energy spinning discs and stuff. Okay, I get it, but they never actually like really work with them as much as they could. But I think simply thinking about your chakras and working with your chakras is like such a key thing, and it's a very practical thing, and it's something that I would suggest would be something that like people take more focus on if they're looking for like something to experience out of this whole like spiritual ideas and stuff, because I think it's something that I mean, there's even when you think of like mantras and stuff like it's just, I mean, maybe we can do it for but well, let me just say, like, how does the topic chakras come up much in your books that you're talking about?
Quite a bit. I do talk about the chakras a bit, especially when I'm also working on a book now on yogic witchcraft, so the intersection of witchcraft and yoga, and using a lot of the yogic philosophy, yogic theory in engaging a magical life, or using that energy to manipulate the energy around us to create positive change. But chakras do come up a lot. I mean, it's the key word we hear a lot in metaphysics and New Age thought, New Science. I mean, everything's connected to the chakras in some way. The chakras are important because they're in the body. So there's something we can, really experience. We can go into the heart chakra. We can feel when we're not rooted, but they're actually anchored into the physical body as well by location. So they're ways we can actually experience spirituality, and having experiential connections to spirit allows us to make it more real. It makes it tangible. It gets it out of that space, because I think too often we get caught in that space of it's all theory, it's all concept, it's all stuff we talk about, but we don't get to really experience. And the chakras are a really powerful way to experience spirituality.
Yeah, like it'd be nice if someday in the future, if like the topic of chakras was actually like on a page parallel to like the biology of the human skeleton or organs and stuff, like in a science textbook in the future. Like that'd be really, body in school and stuff, but we don't learn about like these subtle energies, which is kind of what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. So maybe, okay, since we're on this topic, since again, you know, I want to be able to, it's one thing to talk about stuff over and over again, but it's another thing to be able to like teach it to someone who's hearing for the first time. So presuming that there are people who are listening to this show for the first time, what is a way that you would explain chakras to them? Like, how would you introduce them to that word and what it means?
Well, chakras simply are these energy vortexes in the body. There are 7 points within the 7 main points in the body, all the way from our coccyx, our tailbone, up to our crown. Each one has an associated color. Each one has an associated position within the body. Each one has emotions attached to it. So what they are really are our internal gauges for where we are within our body and within our spiritual experience. So, I mean, the chakras, I mean, you can go in so many different directions with the chakras, and there's so many different theories on the chakras and what they are. Some people consider them actual physical points in the body. Other people will explain them as auric points outside of the body and not internal. So there's lots of different, you know, things you can do with the chakras. But the thing I like about the chakras is it does bring us into conscious connection with our physical bodies. And a lot of times that's a missing piece when we do spiritual work, is a lot of times we're trying to get out of the body. We're trying to astral travel. We're trying to have out-of-body experience. We're trying to do these things that take us up and out and coming down and into the body and actually connecting to those energy centers, connecting to what binds us in our heart center, going into the solar plexus, seeing where our fears are. And the solar plexus and the heart are two good ones to have the experience. And something frightens us or it catches us off guard, typically we feel that in the diaphragm. We feel that in our solar plexus, and that's our center of fear. So, you know, actually you can touch that part of your body. You can put your hands over that part of your body and feel the sensation. You can connect to it instantaneously. It doesn't require a lot. So, you know, bringing it into the physical body is something I think that's missing in a lot of the other aspects of spiritual work. So that's one of the main reasons I really do like the chakras, because you can have someone touch their solar plexus chakra. You know, just touching the physical body in that area gives you conscious connection to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, for people who might be entirely new to this, like you get the idea that like the different chakras actually are like a scale. I mean, you know, you can think of scale because it's pretty much the same thing. You know, you can look at them in terms of colors, and you can look at them in terms of frequency, sort of, with the being like, you know, like that, like lower, or like, you know, that, well, technically the bass, if you were to do mantras, the bass would be the F sound, the sound like that. And working your way up to like the crown chakra, which is like E, which is E, and then, you know, kind of working in between there. And I think it's really, because there's so many ways, like you said, there's so many ways that you can look at the chakras. So I mean, a person who is into music could look at the chakras and just be like, hey, you know, like I'm really interested in the musical scale, and I'm interested that like each of these like different chakras has like a different like resonating frequency to it. And I think as people start to understand, like how, you know, it's almost you can almost, we sort of talked the other day. You want your chakras to be working well so that the energy can like flow well between them. You know, you want these spinning discs to be spinning properly so that the energy between them can like flow through you, kind of like moving up through your body. I think that's the way to describe it. So when you understand, you know, like how the body should be working, it sort of gives you motivation to be working with the chakras. And like you said, it is a way for people to actually physically experience like these kind of spiritual ideas. And some of the ways, and I'd actually like to ask you about, you know, chakra, you know, that you want them is like activating or just becoming more active. It is very like this very awesome sensation. It can be that, or in a very deep meditative state, you're just, your body like vibrating, like it literally is like sort of like vibrating at a way that otherwise would not happen. And it's a very, I think awesome is a very good word to put. It's a very appealing word, and it's also part of like our divine right as like human beings to have these awesome experiences. So, you know, when you look at all the stuff out there, people feel like, oh well, I like to drink pop because it tastes awesome, or I like to eat crappy food because right? What if we start shifting our focus on getting awesome, rewarded sensations out of meditation? And also realizing that we're not damaging our body in the process, but we're actually like making it healthier. And then continuously, as we continue to practice this more, we're going to be like unlocking ourselves to even more awesome potentials. Like I think if I were to try and sell people on the idea of chakras, I think it's totally doable, but at the same time, you can only tell them so much, and eventually you have to be like, all right, now in order for you to really get this, like you have to sit down and work with your chakras yourself. So kind of I was saying, how would you explain the process of like what it feels like to have your chakras like, you know, worked with, so to speak?
Well, it's a difficult question because it's all subjective to the person. What I have found, like working with Reiki for I don't know, almost 8 years, is everyone has a different experience. But the thing about the chakras and their locations in the body are even people who do not believe in chakric energy or the vortices within the body, if they feel fear, they feel it in their stomach. If they have heartache, they feel it in their heart center. If they're having problems speaking, they feel it in their throat. So there are very specific points in the body that are affected by our emotions. So, you know, just watching where you are emotionally is a really good way of connecting to the chakras. Self-reflection and journaling. The big thing that I give a lot of my clients to do is daily just ask yourself, where am I in my body today? Where do I feel restricted? Where do I feel expanded? And just sitting with that, and you'll get to really experience where your limitations are in your chakras and where your expansions are. You know, some people are very open in the crown. Some people are very open in the heart. A lot of us tend to be more bound in the heart and the solar plexus because that's where we hold all of our stronger emotions, our deeper emotions. And there's other places in the body we store things. But the chakras, you know, are just something that, you know, you can be more tangible with. It's more internal work. So it brings you into contact with yourself. And in essence, that's what we're trying to do when we're doing all this, you know, fantastic spiritual stuff, is having that direct connection with the divine, which is inherent in all of us. And this is the way to do it. But sitting down, self-reflection is the best way. I found, like, journaling and seeing where you are within your body and within your experience and how they're connected. And sitting with that as a meditation can really help you to connect to the experience of the chakras.
Yeah. There's a good picture, and I've actually seen it a while ago, but it went up on Facebook. You know, there's a lot of. It's pretty cool to see how Facebook's come into a medium to create like spiritual memes and just cool pictures and stuff. And one of them that I saw, it lists the 7 chakras. I mean, of course, like I'll just mention this now. Like a lot of people say, like there's 7 main chakras, and then you get like a bunch of sub chakras as well. But the 7 main chakras, it sort of works its way up through from like root to crown, and sort of associates a phrase with each one. So the top one would be the crown, you know, the crown chakra. So that's like, you know, the higher self sort of connection. And that part, it says like, I understand. And then like the one like up the brow, like the third eye, like that's like, I see. And then the one of the throat is I speak. And then from there, the heart is I love. And then going lower into, you know, like is it sacral next, or is it, what's below heart, I think?
Below heart is solar plexus.
Okay, yeah, solar is I do, then sacral is I feel, and then root is I am, you know, like that connection to, like, you know, identity and task, like I am and stuff. So, like you said, it's interesting because different people will carry, like, different energies in different parts of their chakras, and that's where you'll hear this, you know, for people who might be getting more into the spiritual stuff, you might hear this within some of the language of the community, people saying, like, oh, you know, like my throat chakra is blocked or something. And they'll literally be knowing that because they might feel as if there's something that they need to say and they're not saying it. You know, there's something that they're holding back, and how do they work with that, and how do they like get past that blockage and stuff. And a lot of that begins like with internal reflection, and like you said, just identify like where these energies are within ourselves. So there's so much. I think the chakras is just such a cool thing. It's like a map, you know. It literally is like a map, like sort of just to give us like a blueprint of, you know, where we're at in terms of.
Right. I think too, you have to also see. I mean, because a lot of times we use that word blocked, and we say, "Oh, my heart chakra is blocked today." And the challenge that I have for folks is, well, that's great. Tell me what's blocking it. or what's connected to that, what's attached to your heart that's blocking it. And once you start peeling the onion back, you start to see exactly what it is. Because oftentimes we use the word blocked, or we use blockage, or we use chakra. And we have to be careful how we even use those words, because they can also be limitations. Or my heart chakra is blocked. Well, what are you doing about it? What are you doing to unblock it? And can you unblock it? Define the word blocked. Because even the word blocked is going to be different for different people. Are my arteries clogged? Is there an emotional something that I'm holding inside? And if I am, what is that emotion that connects to my heart? And that's where, you want your self-reflection to go better. Don't just sit with, I feel blocked today. Go deeper. Peel that onion back. Shed the tears if you have to as you're peeling the onion. And then go make a delicious salad or something with that onion. But don't be afraid to go deeper. I think oftentimes we use some of these words to just sit on the surface. And we really have to start engaging that work of going deeper and deeper into what those words are blocking, and then what we're trying to actually get to by connecting to the chakras.
Yeah. So what would we'll move on to the topics of your books in a second. Mm-hmm. Just sort of close off like this topic of chakras until we it might come up again later. That's fine. What would be like some sort of practical way that you think we can like give to the audience for them to start working with their chakras, so to speak? I mean, there's the idea of like mantras or even like visualization. Like what's something?
Well, seriously though, I mean, the easiest thing is get a printout and get a color printout and just look at them. Just visualizing them. Try not to do it too much in the mind. Go to paper first. Look at where they are, and then see on yourself where they are. And what I even like when we're doing this kind of stuff, if there's a lot of look at them and see what they are to you first. Define them for yourself first, and then start digging deeper into your own discovery by researching and reading books and things. But I personally like mantras. I love the Jonathan Goldman has a really great chakra CD called Chakra Chants, and it goes up through the intonations of each chakra. So it connects you to the chakra. You can feel the vibration. It gives you something tangible to work with. But really, write them down and then sit with a chakra for a week. If you're going to focus on your crown chakra, find out some stuff about it and then focus on it for a week. See where you are with that chakra. See what it does for you in connecting with it. Can you meditate with it? There's lots of ways to connect to it, but just do it. I think that's the hardest part with some of this stuff is just doing it. But even I like to carry a printout of the chakras, and every now and then I'll open it up and I'll take a look at it. And I'll ask myself, where am I on this chart today? What's blocked? And then what's blocking it? Where do I feel really open today? And just asking ourselves those very simple questions are really easy ways for us to engage a process. And I think just starting a process is good. And so I think someone posted in the room, there's different hertz and there are different solfeggio frequencies that are attached to each of the chakras. So just do it. Find something that works. If you're someone who works with sound, do a mantra. If you're someone who works with colors, wear the colors of the chakras. Eat the colors of the food that match the chakra. So there's different ways to experience, but I feel like often we get so caught up in finding a way that we don't actually do something. So first thing, just print out the chakras and carry them with you for a while. And just take them out every now and then, just take a look at them. Start simple and then start digging deeper.
Yeah. And if it was, depending on where you are, another just suggestion that I would do is, again, like working with the visualization of the chakras. Like the heart chakra is often associated with green and the vibration of it. So if you have some plants, or even if you do have a plant in your room, or if you have a forest you can go out into the forest, like with the mindfulness that like the greenness of the forest is like helping you like work with your heart chakra, because it correlates with that vibration of the green. So there's a lot of different ways to work with chakras. And another one, and I've actually mentioned this on the show before, and it's just and it's probably new to some people, and it is interesting, and feel free to do it as well. Even the idea that you can apply the 7 chakras to the 7 days of the week just as something to mindful of. So again, like Monday would be the beginning of the business week, so that would be root. So you're starting with the root chakra, and then like you're working your way up, and then you get to like the heart on Wednesday, and then you get to then on Friday, you get to the heart on Thursday rather. But then on Friday, you're working with your throat. You're talking a lot, so you might friends and you're practicing your communication. Saturday is like that psychic Saturday. You know, you're working with like your psychic abilities. So you might be like out like running into people on the street. You might be listening to Paradigm Shift Radio. Like what we're doing right now is very like, you know, intuitive in that sense. And then Sunday is the crown chakra, you know, the I understand part. And even in cultures, you look at this, you know, like Sunday is like the Sabbath. It's a day to reconnect with your higher self. That's something that works for you. Try to it again. What we're doing is listener, and even if you think you know everything about chakras, go back and work with them more, because if you're not working with your chakras, then you're sort of like, you know, avoiding the work, so to speak. So chakras, Charkas, is how you spell it for those of you who may not be unfamiliar with the word. And yeah, just Google it. Like you said, like run some searches on YouTube. There's plenty of different sounds and frequency. Try yourself and just have fun doing it. I think is always an important thing to keep in mind. So.
Absolutely.
Cool, man. All right, moving to your book. Okay, so we'll start off with the first one then. Well, actually, I mean, okay, a lot of people are pretty interested in the title of the second one, Practical Demonology Applications. I'll let you decide. Which one do you think we should talk about?
Let's talk about that one first. It's a heavy one. You know, anytime we talk about these types of things, they're always pretty heavy issues, and I have found in discussing this book in particular that there's a lot of heavy opinions on what it is and what it should be. And I think just the word itself invokes and evokes images in people's minds. You know, some people want to know, well, why would you want to study demonology? I've always had a fascination in demonology. I grew up Catholic and Evangelical Baptist. So having that background, you were always told not to look at those things and not to know about them. But I've always had a fascination with digging deeper into their stories, understanding, you know, who the fallen were, what their purpose is. And what I find in dealing with darkness is, in a lot of my client work, there are these things that happen to us. There are these tragedies. There are these upheaval moments in our lives. But oftentimes there's gifts that are given to us in those upheavals. A lot of us who are more experiential in how we connect to our life have the experience of going through struggle. We go through things. And the example I like to give, you know, that kind of puts the nature of demons in perspective is that there were these saints, these nuns and priests, and they're tortured by these unknown, unseen, dark forces. And it's through that torture that they transcend into their sainthood. So the struggle has a purpose. The struggle sometimes takes us into a place of descending into our bodies, into our experience, so that we can transcend and so that we can move through them. And like I said in the beginning, you know, we shine the light on our experience, but we forget the shadow grows, and we forget the shadow is also part of us. A lot of times we try to run away from the dark stuff. And it's something that I prefer to do is run into it. Sit with it at the table. See what message it's bringing you. And I'm not saying go out and, you know, use the key of Solomon to evoke demons in your space. And people probably do that. But it's just understanding the practical nature of it. Because there's so much when you dip into the magical and religious stuff and all the dogmatic stuff, and we get lost in all the debates that go around all that. Who are the fallen? Where do they come from? You know, the Nephilim and this, that, and the other. But what is that actually doing for us? And how can we actually apply the lessons of our darker natures into our experience? And I think that's what I try to convey in the book. And I do give a lot of meditations and exercises that help us to embrace our shadows, to do deeper shadow work, to acknowledge as agents of change, as being teachers, as being part of our experience and not something that's there to destroy us, but to help us.
So when you're talking about like demonology, like at any point are you talking about up and like a little demon coming in through your roof? Is that?
No, I think that's too far. I mean, that's too big of a jump for people. I think, you know, I do talk about the religion, because I've divided the book into two aspects. One will be the more dogmatic and the religious and the spiritual aspect of demonology. And the other are those things that are our personal demons. the things that we create. And what I have found is those things are way worse than anything that could pop up out of the ground. The things that we create, those monsters that are part of us, our addictions, our temptations, our afflictions, our complexes, the things that are part of us and inherent to our experience, those are much more real than, Lucifer or Baal or any of these divine demonic entities showing up into our space. And understanding our relationship to our personal demons, understanding how to integrate those darker aspects back into the body. Holding ourselves apart from ourselves just creates division, and we have more internal struggle. We have this internal fight that never ends. Sitting down with those parts of ourselves and seeing where the issues actually are, understanding our complexes, re-emerging after going into the dark soil of our experience and seeing what we've planted, seeing what's growing through going through the struggle, through having those issues in our lives. And that's more practical. We do in the book. I do talk about some of the what I call the divine demonic experience, where we do have those entities that are thought forms that are more negative in nature. And I actually have gone back and I split the book up because it was getting to be, you start dipping your toes in those spaces, it gets very religious, it gets very dogmatic, and some religions believe in this stuff, some don't. In Hindu, Shiva is the god of the demons, so in some aspects they're revered. There's the demonolators who actually worship demons. I had a Satanist on our show last week who is the founder of the Universal Church of Satan. So there's so many aspects now working with the religious stuff, and I think we can get lost when we start, trying to swim through those waters. So coming back to just, what does this actually do for me? What could the study of this actually do, and applying it to my own life? And what I have found is that, I've been through some dark spaces. I've been through addictions. I've been through afflictions. I've lived with people who were battling addiction. I've seen addictions kill people. I've seen complexes kill people. And, when we get caught in those traps and don't understand the lessons that we're working through or working with, it can become overwhelming. So I mostly wrote the book for several of my clients that I've seen going through these deep, dark experiences, and for myself, because I don't think there is a lot of books out there that really help us to embrace the shadow, to engage that part of ourselves that we'd run from. And that's where I find we hold most of our fear, is our own self-destructive nature, our own creature of destruction that rests within each of us. Because creation can't exist without destruction, and we have that mechanism within us. So we have to embrace it. We have to invite it to the table.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that there's a lot of even stories and texts out there, and they're sort of written as like depictions of externalized demons and stuff. But like logically, when you look at it, like they were metaphors for like the consistent battle that is happening within us. Kind of what you're saying. So, yeah, I think what you're doing, that sort of just helping not redefine, but just sort of get a clearer understanding of what demonology can mean when you're not just thinking about like the demons who you can like summon and
right.
A lot like the like witchcraft type stuff, like Lovecraft and stuff like that. But okay. So what's a way? And okay, well, first of all, I'm curious. Is one of your books coming out? If people are interested in your books, where can they find out about them? We'll just cover that.
Yeah, my current blog, yogawitch.com, I'll be posting updates. I'm doing the editing process now because I realized when we have 30 days to write 50,000 words, you just kind of write and write. So now I'm doing a lot of editing and going back and, spacing things out. So there will be some stuff on my blog, and there'll be stuff on my Facebook page. I'll be posting some updates and things. The new book that I'm working on is getting a little bit more focused because it's kind of where my path is now. And that is where I'm devoting a little bit more time and attention. But it's getting its work. So hopefully this year, I'm hoping in the next few months to have the book's ready and I'm going to be submitting to the publishers. And if that doesn't work out, then I'll be doing self-publishing. So by the end of the year, maybe by June, they'll both be ready for release.
Cool. Okay, so I do have a friend, Vaughn, who's been on a radio show recently in the past, and I know he's interested in this topic, so we're going to bring him on in a minute. Just something, again, for our audience, and maybe this is something out of your book, what is a practical application relating to demonology that you can share with them? That's something that they might be able to like bring into their life right after hearing this, so to speak, just even, approach.
Well, one of the easiest things is to go back and look at our upheavals. Hindsight is 20/20, and oftentimes we bury those parts of our lives that were difficult. A thing that I challenge a lot of my clients to do is go back to your biggest traumas and look for the gift that you were given in that trauma. If we're still here and we're still breathing, we still have a greater purpose. And understanding what shift happened in us because of that tragedy or trauma allows us to re-embrace that, to bring it back into our experience in a more positive way. Because as humans, we don't let go of things. When people say, oh, just let it go, release it up to God or whatever, we can't do that. It's our nature to hold on to things, and we put them on shelves or we suppress them. Going back in a healthy way allows us to see what the lesson was in that space. And, we learn our ABCs when we're younger. We don't go back now and study the ABCs again. And a lot of our life lessons are the same way. Once we embrace them, once we make them ours, we don't have to go back through them again. But what I've seen is suppressed trauma is something that continues to come up constantly for people. And we see it in the patterns of our relationships, in the way we live our lives, in our self-destructive nature. So understanding, where are my complexes? There's a really great book called Kissing the Limitless that's out by a really great teacher named T. Thorne Coyle. And in that book is a specific section on working with personal demons. And it's a book that I recommend a lot of people read. It's kind of a shortened version of what I did with the book. I really expanded out on some of the things that she brought to the table in that book. So it's a good resource. If you're finding yourself working through complexes or you're finding yourself getting in your own way, like we said with the chakras, self-reflection is a big thing people forget about. Journaling, taking a look at yourself. Where are you limiting yourself? Where are you destroying your experience? Where are your addictions? Where are your limitations, especially the ones you're putting on yourself? The worst boxes are the ones we put ourselves in. And just sitting down and looking at the walls of that box for a minute and realizing that you've created this. And once you realize that, you can move through it. Hopefully not into another box. But if you do, you do the process again. Self-acknowledgement, self-awareness, being in a place of self-possession, owning all of your parts, is living the embodied experience. And that's really what we're trying to do with some of the stuff in the book, is really just getting into that space of owning ourselves. What parts of yourself are you afraid of? What are you running from? And sitting down with those thoughts as meditations and not being afraid to meditate with them. Invite those dark aspects of yourself. Are you causing harm to us purposefully? Why? And going into the reasons why and sitting with that. Where was this attached to? A lot of times when we start sitting down with those things become less of distractions in our experience because we're sitting down with them, we're working with them, we're not running from them. So we actually sit with the shadow. A lot of shamanic practitioners do shadow work. You can journey down into the body with drumming, go into the underworld, see those parts of yourself that are buried in the soil, and just find something that works for you. But T. Thorne Coyle's book, Kissing the Limitless, is a really good book to dive into right now before my book comes out. But, just sit with your complexes. What are you running from? What are the things about yourself you don't like? Why? Self-reflect. Journals. That's like the biggest spiritual tool to buy is a journal. If you don't have a journal, you should. It's the most important spiritual tool to have.
Yeah. You can use it to write down your dreams, too, because that's always something we're trying to...
Well, that's where our shadows talk to us, too, is our dreams. Our dreams, nightmares are powerful, and we wake up, we remember them, we go into places of fear in our dreams sometimes, and we wake up, and in that moment, just something may have been speaking to you. There's a reason why you're carrying those fears into your sleep space. So, put it under your pillow. And then, just be sure you're doing the work. That's the hard part, is actually doing the work.
Well, I mean, we make it sound like it's, I think that's part of us that wants to make excuses, but yeah, it's just a habit like anything else. So, but that's where, we as a community, that's where we sort of have to help remind each other to, like, why it's worthwhile to keep doing the work that we need to do. And, it's not, like, it's part of why we came here. So, I mean, don't think of it as a chore. And if you can actually begin to experience the benefits of the work, then you'll be able to, like, understand, like, why it's worthwhile, So it's kind of like if you haven't worked out in a while and, like, those first workouts are really hard, but once you get past those, you're like, oh, this is actually really enjoyable. And then you realize that it's good for you in the first place. So
I think what Thorne Coyle also says in one of her books, and this is really speaks to that, is one of the biggest reasons why people don't show up to daily spiritual practice isn't because the practice itself is hard. It's because they know on many levels that when they show up, everything has to change. And that's our biggest resistance is once we start doing this work, what are we going to lose? But what are we going to gain? I think we gain so much more. And nothing's really lost. It just gets reworked. It gets reassimilated into our experience. But, show up. And if nothing else, carry that journal around with you until you feel inspired to write. And just keep listening to this show.
Cool. Yeah, and a good metaphor, and I'll mention this, and then there's another caller who I'd actually like to bring on before Vaughn, just because I don't know who they are, and Vaughn's been on the show a few times, so we want to give them a chance too. But a simple way of thinking about a lot of stuff, in terms of like dealing with the darkness that we have inside of us, sometimes it's being aware of something that we might be holding on to, because when we hold on to something, it like controls us. Like we bind it ourselves to it, and it's not until we are able to let go that, like, we sort of like regain the control. And it's sort of like the metaphor, and this is a metaphor I saw, and it was a spiritual teacher who was talking about it. And he was talking about like a monkey who's reaching into a jar and he wants to get jelly out of the jar, and he puts his hand into the jar and he grabs onto the jelly, but then when he makes a fist and tries to pull his hand out of the jar, it won't come out. And, right there's sort of the metaphor of, like, is he holding on to the jar or is the jar holding on to him? And it's not until he lets go that he realizes that, like, it was not the jar that was holding on to him. Like, he was the one holding on to the jar. So we have to, like, loosen that grip that sort of is something that might be an emotional bind from our past that we might still be holding on to. And a lot of that has to do with, like, forgiveness of the selves, if it's, some of the shadow work that we're talking about. And again, understanding that all of these experiences that we've given to ourselves are just that. They're there for a reason. There's nothing put in your life that isn't there unless your higher self knew that you're capable of dealing with it in some way. So it's never like an impossible task. And when you can understand that it's there for a reason and making a reason of it, it's going to help you sort of move past that. And then as future events come your way, you're going to be able to, like, deal with them more efficiently and appropriately and with more confidence. So.
Hello. I think we lost your sound again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, did you lose my sound for, like, long?
Yeah, no, just for, like, 30 seconds, I think.
30 seconds? Okay,
yeah.
Well, no, I was just saying, going back to, forgiveness of the self is a big part, and not holding on to things, or else they will bind us. And check. Like,
yeah, there you are. Yeah, you drop in and out. So.
Yeah, that happens. So
it's the nature of Blog Talk.
Okay, so Michael, whatever. If that message made it through, then that's awesome. But if not, so I'm
telepathically, I got it. I got it all right here. It's in my energy field. So.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring on. We actually have a couple callers who are interested in coming onto the air. So, kind of just doing this like almost like old-fashioned co-host traditional paradigm shift. Bring them on, and then we'll just sort of see where the conversation goes. So, caller from phone number 98948.
I think we've lost you, Skull Babylon.
Hear me now?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay, wait a second. I think it's weird because you lost me as soon as I brought on the other caller.
Huh.
Is that Blog Talk being like really weird? It won't let me have.
Blog Talk's always kind of screwy. I think it's the nature of Blog Talk. It's just the way it is.
Well, since
it's the shadow of Blog Talk.
Okay, since it's probably going to be glitchy again, I'm going to try bringing on that same caller. But this time, Michael, I want you to just say, like, hello, caller, are you there? And, like, ask them where they're calling, to do the thing. So, okay, because it's not going to work for me. Okay, so just give me 1 second. If you don't hear me, then just say that, okay?
All right, that works.
Hello,
caller.
Hello?
Hello.
You're both of us?
We're all here.
Am I still here?
I think you're here.
I don't know, am I?
That's the question. And the answer.
Yeah.
What's going on, caller?
Nothing much. Thank you for all the information you have shared.
My pleasure.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Okay, obviously not. I'm just asking. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Oh, yeah, no caller. I was just, what's your name, where are you calling from, and what would you like to bring to the show?
My name is Dylan. I'm from Indiana, New Albany area. I don't know if you guys have ever been around here.
No, can't say that I have.
But basically, want to get more into the topic of, understanding how it is we create reality. Like, I don't know if you guys have really talked about that during the show. I just got on about 5 minutes ago. But I saw the tweet. I was like, yeah, I got to get in on that. Okay, so what I was really going to ask was, what do you believe, or how do you think reality itself is created just with intention?
Michael, do you got an answer for that?
Well, I think intention is part of it. I think too often we get caught in the idea that intention alone is the thing that shifts our reality. Intention shifts our perception of the reality around us. It's our action and bringing that intention into an embodied state that allows us to actually shift the reality around us. So it's multi-layered steps to engage the reality. There are thoughts that you can control the world around you just with your thoughts, and I think it does on some level, just because our perception of the world around us is shifting when we set an intention. But it's like I can have the intention to move the ball, and then the thought is, we'll reach out and touch the ball, and then I move it. And of course, I probably could move the ball with my mind, but sometimes action has to be attached to intention. So I guess it would determine what is it that you're trying to create, like what are your intentions, because intentions are also subjective.
Well, as I was going through my journey, I started off with the journals, like we were talking about earlier, the journals. And basically, I started realizing that everything I wrote in my journal eventually, came to fruition. It's like things I never allowed myself to believe in before started.
Like
things such as chakras themselves. I didn't believe in chakras at all. I always thought this was, like craziness. These were people who were, thinking out of the norm, and maybe they felt comfortable thinking in this way, and, I never really thought too much about it. I never thought I myself would believe in these things. But as I started going on this journey, it was beautiful. I started realizing how connected my thoughts were to the reality itself, and I eventually allowed myself to receive information from higher sources, such as, I don't know if you've heard of Bashar or Abraham Hicks. They channel specific beings, and the thing is if I would have encountered this video, say, about 8 months ago, I myself would not have believed a bit of it at all. I think it's really that you change your perception, or change how you view the world so much that you allow these things to be true. It's like the world itself is an empty cup, and that's its use. That's how it is useful, is that purpose. Its purpose is to be an empty cup. Life itself is meaningless. We add our own beliefs into this cup. It's like, say, money. We put, hey, I don't get a lot of money. I don't see money coming into my life. There's only one way money can come through, and it's through a career. We basically put that belief. We filled the cup with the belief that that's the only way money itself can come through our life. And with that recognition, when we recognize that life itself is just an empty cup, what are we filling it up with? It's beautiful when you realize, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I think that's a good way of looking at it, and then realizing you're the empty cup.
Exactly.
And allowing whatever you want to create. But then we also have to acknowledge that by acknowledging that we create these very positive things, and going kind of into the topic of what I was discussing in the book, was that we also have to acknowledge we create the very negative things. And we have to acknowledge those parts. And I think too often we get caught on filling the cup with, some delicious, wonderful spiritual juice, but the cup gets dirty from that spiritual juice. We have to wash the cup. And that's where action sometimes will come in, because we'll manifest some powerful things into our experience, but then understanding all that comes with what we're manifesting. It's not there's a price, but there's a lot of stuff that comes with everything we ask for. And we get everything. We don't just get parts of it, we get the whole deal. And being able to sit with the whole deal and say, what am I really asking for? And going deeper into our states of intention setting. What am I setting my intentions for, and why? How do I define intention? What does intention mean? What are the chakras? And going deeper and challenging ourselves is where we create a little bit of friction, and through that friction we find growth. We scrub the cup.
No, that's amazing.
No dirty cup.
I feel like, the best teacher really is ourself, and we tend to be looking out there for the answer when it really was always within. Every answer to every question was always found within.
Well, that's the embodied experience. You have to go into the body. We forget the body, especially in New Age dynamics. We forget that we want to go through the Merkaba, we want to go through our guides, we want to go through our angels, but we forget that it's the body, this physical body, and this very physical world that lets us have those experiences. Without this body, we would just be on the other side. We wouldn't be in this experience, we'd be in some other experience. So we have to understand the limitations and the expansions of this physical realm. So descending to ascend is the actual way to get a little higher. Going straight up, you can, but you forget that it's the physical body that provides the biggest anchor and limitation to that transcendence. You have to go down to go up. You can't forget the physical body. We're living this third dimensional reality. We're living this experience. This is where the divine actually intersects with us. It may meet us in those other places, but it actualizes in this place. Your manifestation goes into a place of desire, which is in the body. It's in the body we feel those desires. Then we go into the body and send them up. And that action of going down and sending them energy up for it to manifest is powerful. But when we just go up and out, we're missing a part of that circuit. And some of us can't manifest that way. But when that stuff shows up and it brings with it guilt, when it brings with it negative emotion, it attacks the physical body. Then it binds us. Why did I create this? What am I going this way for? So understanding that we have to loop the physical body into the experience is an important thing to do. Bring those intentions into your physical body. Breathe them in. Put them in a cup and actually drink them down. Write them, journal.
I think just kind of, working with the physical body, working with the mind, like the mind being part of the body. You got me right now, right?
Yeah, we hear you.
Can I throw a what if out there?
Sure.
Okay, so going back to Bashar, he had these 4 laws. maybe you or maybe not. Maybe you have not heard of them. They're the laws of creation. That everything, absolutely everything, comes from just these 4 laws. And with law 1 being that we exist, we can't change that. We're always existing in one form or another, whether it be this human body or, maybe an extraterrestrial life form within a different galaxy. Whatever it may be, we always exist because we're soul. We're not the human body. We're soul. We're soul generating this computer. Basically the brain's a computer a soul can operate, I'm guessing.
Right. I agree. I agree with that to an extent, because a lot of times that's something we hear a lot, especially in New Age dynamics, is that we are souls living in this human experience, but we deny the human experience a lot. We jump out of the body and we go into, I'm spirit living in this body, so I should be able to have everything that spirit should have. Well, how do we know what spirit should have? Spirit doesn't have anything but spirit, or it has what it has on those dimensions, but we really don't know because we're not there, we're here. And I believe we are spirits living a human experience, but we're living the human experience. And we have to live the human experience also.
I feel let me get back to the rest of the laws. There's also law 2, that the one is all and the all is one. Basically, that we're all a part of the infinite creator, and the infinite creator is within all of us. And I think that's one of the most beautiful laws within these 4. With the third being that what it is we give out is what we get back. And what I felt that is what we believe, what our highest belief is what will produce in the reflection of our reality. Everything, including this body, is just that thought. Like if you've read Law of One by Raw, or the Raw material, I'm sure you've heard of it as well. Everything, including the human body itself, is thought. So whatever we're filling the cup with, these beliefs, is what we're getting back in the reflection of our reality. Our reality is a reflection. And just because we don't understand how we could be doing this or doing that, it's just because we haven't tried. We haven't allowed ourselves to believe before. That's why we can't understand how. And it's not our purpose, or we don't have to understand how. We just have to know that we can. That's the most important thing, is that we know that we can. Anything you imagine is existence. Nothing you imagine, or everything you imagine is existence. You can't imagine non-existence. So anything we imagine is ours. And once we realize that, we really, rid ourselves of our deepest fear. I don't know if you've heard the quote by Marianne Williamson, but she says that our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. I can't really remember the rest of the quote, but
I think too, with that quote is we do realize that we are powerful beyond measure, but it's not that we are afraid of our light. I think sometimes we are afraid of our light. I think we have to acknowledge that the light and the dark coexist. They're the divine twins. They live together in constant space. Destruction exists at the exact same point that creation does. And I think we have to acknowledge those things. And I think too often, the challenge that I always have is because, you'll hear Bashar's 4 laws, then you'll hear someone else with 4 laws, and then someone over here will have the 5 laws of this. And Deepak Chopra has the 7 spiritual laws of 19 different things, and they're all different. And then, in magical practice, there's laws. The challenge that I have for people is, what are your laws of reality? What are you creating, and what laws are you binding yourself to? Because it's great to have those perspectives. When I look at those perspectives, I'll use my own experience as a touchstone for that. Does that resonate with me, and is that true for me? And does it play in my own experience? If it does, then I take a part of that and I sit with it. If it doesn't, I put it back on their shelf. Because not everyone's laws are my laws. Like, my perspective on things is not going to necessarily be your perspective on things. So I think, too, we have to be very careful about getting caught in a lot of this channeled information, because I do channeling. And we have to be careful about what's coming in, because we don't want that information to override our own internal connection to God self. And if it resonates, hold on to it, and then redefine it as something that's yours. Write your own creation mystery. Write your own spiritual laws. And that way it becomes yours. It becomes something you've embodied and not something you're trying to experience, because you're just chasing somebody else's experience. Mm-hmm. And that's another level of illusion, trapping yourself in somebody else's space.
Yeah. I love that, because it seems like there's not that many leaders anymore. There's just followers. But the way I look at it is I'm picking and choosing certain beliefs, certain systems to, allow myself to create my experience the way I want to. So whatever I'm putting my belief into, that's where I'm getting that. You see, I'm believing something is true so that it is in my experience. You can choose to believe absolutely anything you want, but what you want to have a reason for that belief, because that belief is going to end up creating the reflection you see.
But that's my challenge to you, is it's important to do that, but the challenge is not to believe Bashar's 4 laws of creation or 4 laws of truth. What are your 4 laws of truth? And they may reflect something similar to Bashar's, but if I'm believing Bashar's 4 laws and then someone else comes along with 4 better laws, what does that do to my current paradigm? Or somebody says something that shatters Bashar, or the channeler of Bashar says, because this has happened recently, and everything I've channeled is false. This is like a false being. Then what does that do to our reality? But if you made it yours and you embodied it, you rewrote them as your experience. And this is why I want people to touch that stuff, but touch your own truth and see, does this resonate with me and what's mine? And look at their words and then rewrite them as yours. Mm-hmm. Recreate them as your experience.
Yeah, like I was just gonna butt in there and stuff. Like I think kind of almost going back to Dylan, what you were talking about, like how does intention create reality? Maybe just to sort of put this idea out there, even though for a lot of us it might sort of be not obvious, but just something we just sort of like forget to mention maybe, but. A lot of people are saying like we're spirit having a physical experience. One way of sort of like wrapping your mind around this sort of goes into like the idea of looking at it from like a quantum mechanics sort of perspective, where this physical reality isn't so much physical as it appears to be, but rather like the physicality of it is created by like the bonds of the electrons and the atoms like pushing against each other to create like this sensation of density. But once you sort of change that density and move up in vibration, things become far more cloudy, like nebulous, you could say. And as you get higher up into that space, like that's like the space where everything sort of originates from. Like anything that sort of comes into this physical density actually like occurs first within those higher densities, which is also like where thought more like directly sort of interplays with it. And even if you tie this into the idea of like dream experiences, like within dream experiences, the density isn't as dense and time isn't as like quite the same. So you can prove it to yourself that as you think something, you will create it in a literal sense. Like in a dream, you can be like, I want to imagine like, like a horse with rockets attached to it and stuff. And you can like manifest that in front of you and like ride it through the sky and stuff. But you could theoretically like try doing that within this reality, maybe to not such a ridiculous extreme, and it would still happen, but due to like the illusion of time, like it just takes a little bit longer for something that we think to eventually become real. But it's something that we have to keep in mind, that potentially each thought that we do have has the potential to become something within our reality. So it's really important for us to sort of take the time to think and to sit on what is it that we want to bring into our reality. And, that's something that we bring into our meditation practice. Really ask yourself, like, what do I want to bring into my life? And kind of almost going back to what you were saying as well, Dylan, write it down. Writing something down, actually, there's like something magical that happens there through the process of like consciously taking it within your mind, writing it down on paper, and then observing it with the eyes. Like there's something that happens there that I think brings it into this reality in a little bit of a different way, opposed to it just sort of like sitting in your head. So that would just be, if people are interested in this, like, simple life tips or whatever, like if you have something, think about it, decide what you want, and then write it down on paper, and then like read it back to yourself. And like in that process, you're actually like working with the code of the matrix as to like how things manifest into this reality. And if you work with it, you can like find more efficiency within it. So just if you guys have something to mention or add on to that, feel free.
I think that's pretty good. I think, there's just so many different ways of looking at perceived reality and intention and this, that, and the other. And I think too often we get caught in trying to define it and trying to compartmentalize it that we don't experience it. And I think we have to see, what is it that I'm actually creating now? What am I... Because the cup is always full of something. The cup is never really empty, and you can't really empty the cup because there's something in us that's calling something into our experience. Our complexes, our personal demons, those things that we bury, those are things that are etched into the cup. And an example I always give is I have a client of mine who wanted to attract the perfect partner into her experience. Internally, she was running an affirmation of she wasn't worthy of having the perfect partner, but she was doing all the manifesting and doing the journaling and the manifesting lists and lighting the candles, and she attracted the perfect partner to make her feel less than worthy. Because the universe brings you everything you're asking for, not just one piece of it. So this is why we have to go into the body and see where our internal affirmations are. What are we truly calling into our experience, and why do we want this? And really sitting with that internal truth and discerning what is it that we truly want to bring into our experience. And discernment's a big part of the spiritual process that a lot of us forget, discerning what we're manifesting. And sitting with that, and why do I need this? Why do I want this? And what am I actually trying to create for myself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dylan?
That's beautiful. Yeah, what I was going to say is, I think that's beautiful because there is beauty found in contrast. The contrast of, this makes me feel negative, this makes me feel positive. Why am I always, experiencing the negative when I know I am more than capable of experiencing the positive? You just shift. You realize, hey, this isn't what I want. So you take that energy, you shift it towards a different direction, a positive direction, and really feel it. Feel the passion, feel the freedom, feel the freedom more than anything. Feel the freedom you have over your life when you realize this is your, controlled reality. You control your existence. You control what comes into your life. Realize the freedom in that, and then life becomes a breeze. You're going to experience things, but then you're going to realize there's contrast. There's what you do not want and what you do want. There's always going to be contrast. We can't change that, but we're always going to know whatever it is we do not want. We can receive the opposite by changing that energy, by realizing, hey, this is what I want. I don't want that. I'm not going to put my focus or attention on that. It's not worth it. I'm going to put my focus and attention on what is, and this is what I'm going to experience. Believe it's possible. It goes back to, what are you filling the cup with?
Well, I think, too, just realizing there really is no cup. It's just the experience. We try to define it by putting it in a cup or a bowl, or all that exists is what's right in front of you right now. Nothing else exists. And the only thing we have to do is accept and breathe. And everything else we choose to do. And understanding where our choices are leading us, understanding where discernment should play into all parts of our experience, understanding that there really is no separation between mundane and spiritual. And being in that space of understanding that we all live a very magical experience, and everything that we do creates outpourings of energy. Choosing not to do something means that things will take place because of that non-choice. So every choice has its ramifications. But sitting with all that can become very tiring for the mind and tiring for the spirit, because we get too caught up in these moments of sitting with every little minutia that we engage, and just trying to do the best we can in the moment, and being more present, being more in the moment. That's why journaling, doing things that bring you into the body and being embodied, allows you to be in the moment, because the body is here now. The spirit can be multiple places. It can go anywhere. And I think we get caught in those illusions sometimes. Adyashanti talks about in one of his books, spiritual addiction. We have these very profound spiritual moments, and then we get caught in trying to have those moments. And it takes us completely out of living this life as a spiritual moment. And that's where all this stuff really creates itself. That's where everything actually moves. That's where creation and destruction both happen. So living and embodied. So that's like the challenge is, how am I embodying my experience? Am I in my body, or am I trying to escape my body? Mm-hmm. And not using our spirituality as an escape tool.
Yeah.
You know, am I ascending to escape, or am I ascending to have an experience that I'm bringing back down into my body?
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I was just, I think we can, with that said, I think we should move into our meditation pretty much soon, actually. Dylan, was there anything else that you wanted to mention real quick before we move on with that?
No, I'm fine.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, I'll just mention real quick because you did mention Bashar, and again, you know, presuming there are people who don't know who that is, feel free to, for anybody who's interested in even the topic of channeling, Bashar is a very interesting individual. So Bashar, as it sounds, and run a search on that on YouTube and check out some of his stuff for yourself. And maybe I'll try to find an appropriate video to include in the show notes as well for anybody else interested. But I think, like there's a huge topic there in itself related to Bashar and channeling, and who knows, maybe we'll be able to get him on the show one day. I have actually contacted him in the past and had a small conversation with him. So, and not just Bashar, but like the guy who channels him.
Daryl.
So yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. Like he's actually a filmmaker as well. So
he's pretty mellow.
Yeah, I get that. So he's busy, but who knows? Maybe if we all put that collective intention out there, it'll help get him onto the show at some point. So, but I think what I was just going to say, you know, like talking about this idea of like how do we manifest reality and stuff. I think as we start to become more efficient at manifesting reality within our immediate reality, then we can start manifesting reality for other people outside of ourselves. And you know, that might be something as simple as like bringing more love into this world. And that's something for anybody involved with the whole like paradigm shift communities to keep in mind. You know, like how can we as a collective put out that intention to be able to reach out to more people. And you don't have to like one master to start like helping other people on their path. Like you just need to be able to reach out for them and to sort of be there as like that collective support. So just something for anybody who's sort of listening to this, maybe we can take that with us into our meditation, or just do that personally in the back of your own mind, is to start doing that. Start thinking, what do we want? Like what do we as a community really want to see? Like what is that change that we want to see in the world? And then start, you know, maybe writing it down, or just start putting a little bit more attention towards that intention, and things will happen. Like needless to say, things will happen. So magic.
Ta-da.
Yeah. Ta-da.
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra, yeah, that's a magical word in itself. Cool. All right, Dylan, thanks a lot, man. And I don't know if you're in the show notes, or even if you're just, if you have me on Facebook, feel free to just send me a message just so I know that you were on the show, and I can include your Facebook into the show notes if people want to get in touch with you, if that's not a problem. Or just send me a tweet over Twitter, and we'll do it that way. So does that sound all right? Sound good?
All right.
Cool, man. All right. Well, thanks for calling in. And we do have just a reminder for everyone, we do have the Google after party, the Google Hangout after party, which will be happening in the show. So I'll post it up on Twitter as well, but facebook.com/paradigmshiftradio, and people will be able to see the show notes there. So just a reminder for everyone to keep that in mind, that will be coming up after the show goes off air at 1 a.m. So in a half hour. Cool. All right. Okay, Dylan, thanks again, man, and all the best.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Okay, so Michael, how's it going?
Good,
man. All right, now, I mean, I know we talked earlier. Like, you actually you have a yoga class that you have to teach in the morning. Yeah,
very early.
All right. I mean, I don't keep you any longer than you're willing to stay. Are you staying around to help out with meditation out of your own free will? Is that?
Yeah, we can do the meditation. Yeah,
okay.
I'll stay for the meditation.
Cool. Okay, cool. Because, I mean, there are a couple other people in the queue who would probably, I mean, I can bring them on regardless afterwards, but I'm not sure if they actually have, like, a question for you in particular. So, but...
They do. They can always contact me via Facebook, or you can contact me, michael@michaelbrazell.com, or Facebook me. I'm very easy to talk to about these kinds of things, and I'll have pretty long discussions with people if they're going through things, and I don't mind talking about this kind of stuff. So, and just about anything, any topic is I've been approached with. So, so everything, it's all good. So if we don't get to you on the air and you want to talk to me directly, by all means, Facebook me, tweet me, email me.
Yeah, and
telepathic messages, and I'll respond.
Right. Telepathic mailbox.
Meet me in the fifth.
That's right. That's the point on the astral. And I will just mention, because I mean, not that this, having you back on the air, I don't think that's going to necessarily happen every week, but you are more than welcome to just, when you think that you got those Saturdays open, just feel free to let me know. So for anybody listening to this, again, check out Michael's other shows during the week at blogtalkradio.com/Michael Brazell, so you can get plenty of your fix through his other shows in the week, since he won't always be back on Paradigm Shift Radio. So cool. All right, so Michael, now with the meditation, I do have it set up that we do have some singing bowls that we can work with, like some singing bowl audio we can work with. I should probably upload all of them, but right now, like the ones that I have selection-wise, and I'll let you choose. We have solar, root, crown, or heart, and brow.
Let's do heart. Heart's a good one. That's a good one. Take into the new year here.
Okay, we can work with heart. All right, so you pretty much know how this works. Just I'll mute my mic, and you do the walk-in for the meditation, do whatever you want to do, and then just let me know, and I'll cue the music, mute you, and then bring you back on to walk us out of the meditation.
Sure.
All right, so again, this is for everyone who's taking part in this, and maybe you might be new to meditation, just begin simply by getting relaxed, and keep in mind that this is a very interesting experience and energy being associated with this meditation, because there's so many people listening right now, and it's like a global synchronized thing that's happening. And even if you're listening to this in the future, there's still like the energy created within this moment that you're still like tapping into through the recordings of it from the future. So again, just get comfortable, and Michael, I'll let you take it from there.
Sure. Just real quick, people are posting like what posture to be in, wherever you are. Just be present. Get comfortable. Allow yourself to begin grounding into your experience. If you want to sit upright, connect your feet down to the earth. Let your palms rest in your lap. Face up in a space of receiving, opening yourself up to the meditation. Connecting to your breath. Inhaling deeply and fully. Allowing the breath to drop down into the body. Follow the breath with your consciousness. Going down into the heart center. Allow your feet to continue rooting down. Allow your crown to expand up. Inhaling deeply and fully. Each inhale bringing alignment. Each exhale creating space for alignment. Each breath intention. Each exhalation, expansion, connecting deeply and fully. Shift your awareness to your heart center. Allow yourself to remain present in the heart center for the duration of the meditation. Continue breathing energy into that space. Bring your hands over that space if you feel the need to connect deeper. Send energy to all parts of yourself through the heart center. As we now begin the meditation with sound, continue breathing. So continue breathing, letting the resonance of the heart chakra continue to move through your entire system. Continue following the breath down, down, down into the heart space. Letting the sacred fire of your heart ignite your experience fully. Continue breathing. Slowly bring your awareness back to the body. Expand beyond the body and back into the space around you. Continue to breathe, filling the space with intention, filling the space with expansion, continuing to hold in this sacred space as you move back into your experience. Namaste. And there we have it.
All right. Cool. Thanks, man.
Sure.
Do you do a lot of guided meditation in your work?
I do quite a bit. When I do one-on-one healing sessions with clients, I'll actually do a personalized guided meditation for them. And when I do my yoga classes, I always open and close with guided meditations to actually bring us fully into the practice.
Yeah, and I think kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier with like working with the chakras, for some people, I mean, who maybe have been doing this for a while, you probably noticed this, but even for those of you who might be new to the whole meditation and chakra stuff, obviously with that one we were working with the heart chakra, but you may notice like subtle vibrations. One of the most obvious ones for me is through the brow chakra. So if you're getting into those deeper spaces of meditation, you may find that there's like a slight like tingling or vibration sense like happening in that spot of the brow, just above your eyebrows, where like the third eye, the seat of the soul, like that brow chakra resides, and it's just something to sort of take note of, and it's just something to sort of be aware of, and it ties back to the whole like visceral sensation of the fact that the chakras are there, and it might not be something that we can sort of like anatomically sort of point to, but they are there if you were to sort of depending on who you ask, I guess. But
yeah. It's all subjective. And that's the thing with spirituality and all this really fun stuff is, I mean, you're only limited by your imagination. Yeah. And just because someone says that the heart chakra has to be this, doesn't mean it has to be that for you. If you look at the heart chakra and like, my heart chakra is blue, then by all means, let your heart chakra be blue. Don't feel bound by the limitations of others. But let yourself experience these things wherever you are. And if you're not fully aware of what this stuff is, just show up until something syncs up to you. And don't be afraid to dip your toes in the waters. We get afraid of the experience, and don't be afraid of having these experiences. They are very powerful and they are very wonderful. So do it. Do the work.
Yeah. Do the work. Cool. All right, man. Well, I think that was kind of a good message to go out on. And if there's anything else you would like to add before we sort of let you go?
No, just don't be afraid to show up to your process. Show up to your practice, even if it's just breathing. Start the day off with a deep inhale and a deep exhale. Allow yourself to just bring spirit into your experience by being fully present in your experience. And if anyone, needs to contact me or wants to talk more about anything that, we've talked about here on the show, contact me on Facebook, visit my blog, www.yogawitch.com, also soulinteraction.com. I do sessions if people need guided meditations or want to engage their process through a space of learning about where they are in their process. We can always do that also. But just conversation, feel free to contact me. I'm always up for talking about this stuff. And then tune into our shows. Our next show is going to be Monday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So tune in, plug in, and turn on.
Cool, man. All right, well, dude, it was good catching up with you, and much appreciated. I mean, both of us, there's been a lot happening on both ends, and it's exciting. Yeah. 2013. Here we go, right? So
busy times, everybody. And just remember, everyone, you are all loved, you are all beautiful, and you are all divine. So just hold on to that.
Cool, man. That's like your catchphrase, eh?
Catchphrase. I have to always end that. Because we have to hear it at least once, I think, and we oftentimes
so.
Hear it. Yeah.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, dude, you go get some rest and have fun with the yoga class tomorrow.
Absolutely. Namaste, and have a good rest of your show and after parties. So talk to you all later.
All right. See you, dude. Namaste.
All right. Namaste.
Cool, guys. So that was a pleasure, once again, having Michael back on the show. And if you liked what he had to say, go back and check out some of our past Paradigm Shift episodes. So, www.paradigmshiftcentral.com/PSR, and you'll see the full archive there. So check out the episodes between episodes 1 and 11, and most of those are ones that feature myself. And there's a lot of stuff that we talked about back in those episodes as well. So that was really fun. Like I really enjoyed having him on again, and he'll definitely be swinging by in the future. No exact promises as to when that will happen, as obviously you heard him say he's quite busy, so we wish Michael all the best, but keep in touch and check out his other shows happening throughout the week, and add him on Facebook and ask any more questions that you might have had that didn't get brought up on the show. So that said, guys, we got about 13 minutes left in this show, and I had mentioned it earlier about bringing Vaughn onto the air just because I know he had something to talk about, but due to circumstance, he has mysteriously vanished off the face of the internet right now, so I can't bring him on, but I will be able to bring on another caller who's actually been in the queue for the last little bit. And they're the only other caller who is queued up right now, who's obviously displaying some interest in coming onto the air. So with no particular direction in mind for this last little bit of the show, other than to remind you that the after party in Google Hangout will be happening afterwards, we'll just sort of see where this goes. So caller calling in from phone number 626-7666. We're going to bring you onto the air, and then we're going to see where it goes. So caller, if you are ready, we're going to bring you on. Here we go. Hello,
up?
Caller. Hey, caller, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Cool. Okay, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Buddy. I'm from Mississippi.
Buddy. Hey, buddy. How's it going, man? And we've haven't we?
I've been watching you for a while and made contact with you, through Facebook and things. And I just want to get on here and tell you your job, and you're helping wake up a lot of people. Now, I'm 21 in the spirit, but I came into this physical in 61, and I didn't wake up till I was 42 in body. Mm-hmm. So I've been awake years.
Yeah, that's.
And
go ahead.
And you guys were predicted to come along 30 years ago. I met some old timers. I met people when I first woke up. I met a lady now today. She's 96. She lives in a town close to. And day 2, when I woke up, I met her, and she had a buddy named Tupelo Joe Turner. And Tupelo, he was a Christ-conscious, walking spirit being. Powerful being. And Emily is the 96-year-old lady now, and wow. And they had been told 30 years ago the indigos were coming. So I'm a forerunner of an indigo. Mm-hmm. And now what I'm doing is I'm helping people like you all across the internet, and I'm watching you grow, and I'm putting posts. I'm blogging about you. I'm Facebooking about you. And I'm just letting people know, this young group of people, what your love is pure. And what your heart is real. You can't teach what you don't know, and you can't give what you don't. So you're doing it. And I want to extend my light, love, and energy for co-creative ability for you to continue doing it on even greater levels than you can even imagine now.
Right on, buddy, man. Like I'm actually, this is actually really exciting for me for to be able to connect with you on air. And I just I posted links to your blog spot, your website addresses in the live chat. But for anybody who wants to see some of your stuff, it's buddyhuggins.com. So BUDDY. And Huggins is HUGGINS.com. So anybody looking to connect with Buddy, feel free to do that. But yeah, buddy, well, we're here. Let's do it. Let's have a little bit of conversation, because I think what you're kind of talking about is something that, you know, I've always sort of been interested in, because, like, here I am. I'm in the driver's seat. Like, I'm right in the middle of what I'm doing. But for someone such as yourself, who, like you said, you know, you've been physically, you've been here for a little bit longer. You've heard these ideas of, like, the indigo children, and it was just like a matter of time until we started, like, appearing more so. So I mean, yeah, just paint the picture from me, from your perspective. Like, how exciting are things for you right now? Sort of like observing, like, the fact that, like, we're here, so to speak. Not that I even call myself an indigo children. Like, I'm just doing what I do. But, like, I think in a lot of ways, like, you know, what's sort of happening is sort of correlating. You know, call it like a self-fulfilling prophecy if you want, but things are sort of, like, unfolding as they were once predicted to unfold. So yeah, what's it like?
Well, you like this in the eyes of this 96-year-old lady and her good buddy Joe Turner. I met them and I traveled the country. We literally went to meetings where there are people out there that have come out of religion, and these people are preachers and teachers and ministers that preach people to hell. You know, really were into it. They were into Assemblies of God, Jehovah's Witnesses, all these nations. But they slowly started waking up, and some of them has been in the wake-up process for 20 years. See, they got to relearn everything. They kept hearing in their prophecies, and they kept knowing in their being that they were people that were going to come along that could wake up overnight. Now, basically, when I met Joe Turner a week and a half after I met Emily, day 2, I was the fulfillment of their prophecy for somebody that could wake up in a matter of weeks, months, and my downloads lasted for 3 months. So basically, I reached my fullness within that period of the I am, of self-realization consciousness, blessed with the downloads. And in the company of these enlightened beings that actually know how to manipulate energy and can do things that yogis do. Nobody would understand Emily, to look at her, that you wouldn't see power. To look at Joe Turner, he had a stroke for 20 years. His right arm didn't work and his right leg didn't work, but he could will himself to walk.
Wow.
Look, when I was traveling with him, he would be trying to get out of the car and it'd take 5 minutes. I'd be in front of the car kind of leaning on the bumper, and people would walk by and say, "For God's sakes, help him." I look at Joe, and Joe looked at me, and Joe's in bliss. You know, he's just going through the motions. And I look at her, the lady or whatever said, who said it, because it got said a bunch of times, and I said, I will help him when he asks. So to get to the point of how it was interpreted to me is that I would see people wake up overnight. And the shift is happening when we reach this certain place in time and consciousness, where, of course, we shifted timelines 2008, August the 8th. And ever since then, it's been more exciting and more exciting and more exciting. So the way I track you guys is spiritual. It's like, let's say like this, it's the ethers, it's the web. It's the connection. It's the connection with the filaments of what we are. So when I find someone and I want to see where they've been, what they're doing, you can actually check somebody out by going to a website called archives.com. Use their button called Wayback, and you can literally go to their website 5 years ago.
Oh, interesting.
You go to Alex Jones, for example. I can go to there, and you can see Alex Jones within the first month of when he started.
Right.
And you can now. I'm using Alex as an example.
Right.
But he's a little too out there, but that's okay. Use it as an example. See consciousness as you see his hits climb.
Right.
As you see his videos become. Oh yeah, he wasn't getting no hits for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then it started taking off. And I correlated that time and that effort and that effect with other spiritual workers like Greg Braden, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle. Hey, there was a time when didn't nobody know them. Now, you guys are if you allow yourself to believe and do that co-created effort and extend your consciousness and know that you are here for the higher good, and whatever you do is for a purpose, for higher self, for the whole, the collective consciousness, you can't go wrong. You're already, like we say, energy, money is energy. And since I woke up, I'm blessed and I have much favor. And when I realized how much favor I had, and I realized, because at that time I was penniless, I was broke. As a matter of fact, that's how I woke up. Everything. My wife had left me after 20 years, spun me into, foreclosure, bankruptcy, and I went depressed for 9 months. Totally insane depression. Never read a Bible, never went to church, basically was an atheist, didn't understand anything except being a good sheep. And when I got to the end of me, August the 17th, 2003, I took a 357 Magnum and was fixing to pull the trigger.
Oh, jeez.
Instead of pulling the trigger, as I was barreling down on the trigger, all of a sudden a word came out of my chest, and the word was great. Stopped me dead in my tracks. And I said, the first prayer I ever said in my life, I said, Father, please take anxiety out of me. I haven't slept in 9 months, more than 4 or 5 hours, and I keep waking up with these worms crawling through my head. The next day, I woke up. I didn't recognize the room. I didn't recognize what month it was, what day it was, what time it was. All I knew was my mind was completely still. I didn't have, when I've seen my watch, and I realized the last time I had seen a watch, seen the clock, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. So from 12 to 4, I was trying to figure out how to take myself out of this game. And I said, oh my God. And every cell in my body vibrated, and I changed right then. I had to actually try to feel what it felt like to be angry or upset at my ex-wife. Because the thing that broke me is the thing that made me. And see, that night I was downloaded. I instantly forgave everything and everybody.
Nice.
So I knew I was blessed and had much favor.
Nice. Okay, buddy, we got 60 seconds left in the show right now. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. But I think what you're talking about there, this personal story about waking up, I think that's something really cool. And so many other people out there have their own stories. And just to sort of reiterate what you were talking about now, which I think is happening more and more, is that people are waking up quicker and quicker. So, again, if there are people who are listening to the show and are just, beginning to look into, this rabbit hole and go down it, you're going to start finding that thanks to the internet and thanks to the fact that communities like this are, having conversations, that you can, jump right in and you're going to start, opening up so many doors really fast. And it's really exciting, but just keep a level head on your shoulder, I think, is also something to keep in mind. So, with that said, everyone, I'm just going to get ready to sign this off. So, ParadigmShiftCentral.com, if you have not yet, Facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio, and the link for the Google Hangout will be posted right after this, and we're going off air in Blog Talk terms, but we'll just wrap this up here just with one more minute with Buddy. So thanks everybody who listened through Blog Talk, and stay tuned for the links. So Buddy, we're just off the air right now in terms of Blog Talk, but just as we sort of move, we're just literally just one more minute, what's a message that you would just like to leave with people who get a chance to listen to this part of the show afterwards?
Well, it's been said by so many different people, but there is a truth, and that truth is tied to consciousness, and that consciousness is tied to the one thing that in this time continuum is real, is love. Nothing else is that. And a way to understand what's real and what's not real is that Your consciousness is my consciousness, and my consciousness is yours. We're connected. And then the collective has a will and a time to awaken, and that's happening. And you're dead right on. People that right now that we see them as sheep and asleep, they will wake up overnight with the fullness of the I am. Their downloads, see, my downloads came in the first 3 months, and then within the first 3 years, it still evolved. I walked into myself, leaving myself messages. So basically, 9 years condensed. There's people that are going to get the fullness overnight, and we're right at the doorstep of how that's going to happen. Now, entity and there's demons. We got to look at what we're talking about in metaphysics terms, because I want to tell you something. Come true within a short period of time that everybody's going to realize it. I know you guys are already realizing it, but it's verbalizing it that makes the difference. Mm-hmm. The light is the dark, and the dark is the light. Mm-hmm. Now, the dark is practicing dark magic. They're sorcerers. But guess what? We're the same. And it's the same. So if there's any darkness in our reality, it's in us.
Yeah.
So we've got to cleanse. And there's multiple ways of cleansing. And these people that are waking up overnight, they're going to find the path for them. Soul retrievals, limpias, all kinds of techniques that these shaman, these ancient people of wisdom that were basically eliminated from the population of the earth because they knew the way. Ascension. Mm-hmm. So, in a nutshell, that's what you're actually doing. You're actually helping to wake up this next push.
Totally, and it comes in waves, and like your generation, like you're like sort of like that precursor. Like we wouldn't be where we are now if it wasn't for you guys. So personal thanks to yourself and every person who's been a part of your generation, and sort of like led to where we are now. So namaste to that, buddy. And all right, buddy. So I think let's wrap this up, and I'm gonna get ready and set up the Google Hangout as well. And I don't know if you're on a computer, but you're welcome to join in on that as well sometime. So, buddy, again, buddyhuggins.com is the website that you can go to check out Buddy's stuff. And thank you, buddy, for being on the show too. It was a pleasure. And yeah, let's talk some more some other time when I get the chance to, just over Skype or whatever. Sound good? Yeah,
appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it. All right, thanks, buddy, and just say goodbye and farewell to everyone out there. So.
Yeah, I just want to tell anybody and everybody, and check my stuff out, buddyhuggins.com, and just have an open mind about the way I post, because most of it is actually coming directly from spirit. I'm receiving. And a lot of people say, well, I focus too much on the dark. No, but you've got to know what the dark is doing so we know what's happening within us. Where am I seeing the reflection that's reflected back at me in a mass chaotic way? It won't get clean until it gets clean in you. And you are the one. Each one that I'm saying you are the one, you better get it. Because if you don't get it, the rest of us don't get it, and the one that's got to get it is not Buddy. It's you. When one rises, we all rise.
That's right. Yeah, so we got to be able to do that. So by working on ourselves, we work on the collective, and it's not a selfish thing by any means. So cool, buddy. All right, so again, thanks, buddy, for being on the air, and feel free to call in anytime. So
appreciate it.
Namaste, friend. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, so just to wrap up the show here, pretty much last and final notes, ParadigmShiftCentral.com, and also check out www.facebook.com/ParadigmShiftCentral, and Facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio as well, and you'll find the YouTube link up there. If you are, well, technically you'd already be listening to this show in the future anyways, but show notes will be included in the YouTube there. So join us next week, and feel free to get involved in any way you would like, and join the communities, and feel free to start up your own community in your area, and every little bit of work that you do is much appreciated, including the work that you're doing within your own personal space. So keep doing the work, and keep holding the light, so to speak. So until next time, everyone, we'll see you in the future. Skull Babylon, signing out.